If you know anything about sales, you know that there is typically a big difference between what someone can afford and what someone is willing to budget. Hello everyone and welcome back to Destiny. This question comes up a lot in reference to Destiny 2. Considering how heavily monetized the game is, it's a totally fair question to ask. Is Destiny profitable enough for Bungie to expand their budget to support requests of the community, or is that feedback to inform new future projects? I think the real question here is whether or not what Bungie is currently offering as Destiny is something that you want to play and keep playing long term. The game has had quite a storied past with big changes to content density and content structure throughout the years. There was a time where we, the community, felt involved with the game's future and success, which is exactly what was needed to save the game. They gave us a version of Destiny that, while yes, perhaps we look back on with some shade of rose-tinted glasses, it made us fall in love with a game that we were all ready to abandon back in 2017. But now Bungie has managed to get their game back on track, and it's picked up a lot of steam. Destiny 2 is now the game Bungie has envisioned it to be, and they have no plans to make any major changes or additions in the parts of the game that we all care about. In a previous video, we went over what it would take to revitalize the core playlists, and it really isn't much. It really comes down to whether or not Bungie wants to budget for it. Well, earlier this week, game director Joe Blackbird published a 6,000 plus word article on the state of the game, with all of the juicy bits left for the final shape reveal on August 22nd. The updates we ended up getting almost feel like they're getting the bad news out of the way first. They don't want us going into the reveal with certain expectations, so they're laying out all the cards now. In this video, we're going to take a look at the highlights as they address player feedback and start to paint a picture of what we can expect over the next few months. Will it be enough to keep players around? Let's jump in and break it all down. Alright, leading the conversation was an update on ritual activities coming in Season 22. These refer to the Crucible, Vanguard, and Gambit core playlists, activities, and their rewards. First, starting next season, they are updating the weekly ritual challenge requirements so players can complete their 9 challenges across characters in any ritual playlist they like, as opposed to having to complete 3 across Vanguard, Crucible, and Gambit. The aim is to allow you to play the activities you want to play instead of being forced into a playlist you don't like. This is really interesting because I think it will be the first time that Bungie will be getting accurate data on what people like to play. Up until now, players were forced to be omnivore gamers playing all 3 of those core playlists, not because they wanted to, but because they had to for the power increases and exotics. Now we're free, and I think we're going to see a lot of people fall into tighter niches within the game. I think this might affect the future of these activities like Gambit, as we'll go over in a moment, but overall I think this is a great change. Anything that gives players more agency over their gaming experience is a plus in my book. Now sadly, there isn't going to be much to get us excited about these playlists anytime soon. A while back we were told that we would be getting new ritual armor at least every year. Many players noticed that this year with the release of Lightfall that didn't happen, and this is what Bungie had to say on the matter. Delivering ritual armor sets at the rate that we have been in the past is becoming increasingly challenging, especially considering that these sets have historically had low adoption rates by players as both base armor and cosmetic ornaments. At this time, we are amending our delivery plans to how often we refresh these sets and will no longer be creating a new set for every expansion. However, we are prioritizing the delivery of a new ritual armor set alongside the final shape. We will definitely need to dive into armor here sometime soon, but something that might increase the demand is if perhaps possibly, if it's not too much of an inconvenience, release a set that looks halfway as decent as what we see in Eververse, or maybe granted Artifice armor after Prestige 5 or something. Make it interesting and give us a reason to actually go for that armor. It really won't take much. Now, aside from that, we got some features and content actually coming to Vanguard, Crucible, and Gambit, but it's nothing earth-shattering. We are getting one new map, the Vex-themed Multiplex, which looks very cool, and a reprised map from what was previously Sunset, which is the Citadel back in 2018. We are also getting a new game mode called Relic. Relic is a 6v6 party mode where players will wreak havoc and destruction on their foes with relic weapons. Relics include the Aegis from Vault of Glass, the Synaptic Spear from Season of the Risen, and the Scythe from Season of the Haunted. There's also a new game mode modifier called Checkmate. This increases the time to kill by increasing primary weapon damage, increasing player health, reducing ability cooldowns, and special ammunition is now earned via gameplay and no longer drops on deaths. I'm actually a fan of this idea. I'd love to experience more meaningful and tactful engagements in the Crucible, and this might actually allow me to notice the difference between guns a bit more. Now, there were some updates on cheating and matchmaking and game stability, so if you are interested in those things, I would definitely head up the article. It's sort of an ongoing thing with those topics, so it's kind of a little pointless to talk about it week over week, but if you want more information on that, you can definitely check out the article. But moving on from Crucible, sadly, Gambit seems to have gotten the shortest end of the stick. I think it's safe to say that there's never been any major additions to Gambit. Gambit Prime was part of the initial rollout of Gambit, so it sort of doesn't count as something that they added to enhance the experience for players. It was already something that was planned for. Now, it's sad to see that they seem to be moving away from this hybrid idea because they don't seem to want to explore it anymore. And yeah, after 6 years of expansions and nothing new for Gambit, I think it's safe to say that we're not going to get anything new for Gambit within the Destiny 2 lifecycle. Bungie explains that this is due to low player engagement, but you can make the argument that if the game mode had more to offer, it would have more players in the first place. It's a two-way street. We have to have a reason to play the mode besides just getting through it to get the pinnacles, and now we don't even have to do that anymore, as you can play Vanguard or Crucible to get all of your pinnacles and exotics for the week, and you don't need to step into Gambit unless you're gilding the seal, I guess, at this point. So what are we getting in Gambit? Well, in the year of the final shape, we will be getting back Cathedral of Scars, in addition to the Shadow Legion and Lucent Hive being added as enemy types. They didn't go into details as to where they're going to appear, if they're going to be things like MVPs now, but regardless, there are no major additions and no desire to make anything more meaningful for Gambit. So unfortunately, if you were a fan of Gambit, and if you had even a little bit of hope, I think it's time to kind of put that hope to rest. Moving on to Vanguard, this playlist seems to be in the best place of the three. Maybe the new annual content has something to do with it. Bungie will be adding medals finally back into Nightfalls, which should add some fun variety. Also, there will be more battlegrounds added to Nightfall and the GM rotations, which I'm a huge fan of, so that's awesome. Now, while many of these changes were originally planned for Season 23, we may not be getting everything promised until Season 24, which is the first season of the final shape. They also mentioned the seasonal structure and how it will continue to evolve over the next few seasons into year 7. While Season 22 might feel about the same as Season 21 as far as the challenges and the structure, Season 23 is really going to shake things up as they want to experiment with a new upgrade system. They've also been developing a new reward system to replace bounties. With weekly challenges now in the quest and seasonal tabs, it was a matter of time until we learned more about what their plans are to replace daily bounties, and now we have a small glimpse into what that might look like. We have plans to replace some bounties with a more rewarding and engaging system, tentatively called Pathfinder. This is going to be debuted on the new destination in the final shape, and we're currently nailing down the plan on how we can use this new system to replace core ritual bounties in the new year. The graphics certainly looks cool. Let's just hope it's much more convenient and rewarding than bounties, and it looks like it might just be the case. Anyways, those are the parts of the article I wanted to highlight today. I recommend reading the full article if you want a deeper look behind the scenes. I have to say I'm ultimately a little disappointed with the stance on Gambit and Crucible. I used to pride myself on being a true omnivore Destiny player, but I find myself sticking and engaging to PvE a lot more recently. But who knows, maybe Checkmate or Relic can keep things interesting enough. Remember, the big final shape reveal is just a few weeks away, and you can bet we're going to learn a lot more about the final shape, the new darkness subclass, a new season, and hopefully a glimpse into what lies beyond light and darkness. What do you think of these updates, and what are you most looking forward to during the final shape reveal? Be sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss out on all future final shape and Bungie news. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.